I took a semester off, thinking that, and I've just
Slippery slope,
never
huh?
returned. Yeah, exactly. Very slippery slope. But I was like, I love climbing, and I'd rather do that than study civil engineering right now. So I just gave it a shot. This is Climbing Gold.
When you were young, you were like 19 or 20, you took that chance where you dropped out of UC Berkeley. You're in the engineering program, right?
Yeah, I would finish my freshman year as a aspiring civil engineer. But I didn't exactly drop. I took a semester off, thinking that, and I've just
Slippery slope,
never
huh?
returned. Yeah, exactly. Very slippery slope.
So you don't drop out, but you never return.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Exactly.
um, you say to yourself, like, I'll follow this path for a little bit. And that was at a time too when no one knew who you were. Um, Talking with it, it seems like you never really considered yourself a generational talent. You just loved it. And you figured, hey, if it doesn't work out, like I can always go back to school. Um, and I know it's hard to always go back to yourself 20 years ago, but what was your thinking at that time?
I mean, that was kind of it. I was like, oh, I'll take a semester off. I'll go rock climbing. I'd gotten into the youth worlds that year. I'd randomly gotten second at nationals, and so I was kind of like, oh, and it was during the same time as the school semester. So I was like, oh, I'll take the semester off. I'll go do the competition. I'll travel around a little bit. I'll climb, and then I'll just kind of like see how it plays out. And
Mhm.
then I just never went back. But
Yeah.
no, you're right that at the time it's not as if, I had never done that well. I mean, I had this either fortune or misfortune of growing up in the same region as Ethan Pringle and Kevin Jorgensen and a couple other people who wound up being professional climbers who are very, very good. And so I never won anything through my whole childhood. Like I always got smoked by all these other guys that were way better than me. And so, I was always just kind of like, oh, I'm a good climber, not a great climber, certainly nothing like not gifted, because Chris Sharma had also come out of the same region, Northern
Mhm.
California. And he was an example of like, this is someone who's clearly gifted at rock climbing. And I was like, well, obviously that's not me. Like, I can't do any of the things that he can do. But I was like, I love climbing and I'd rather do that than study civil engineering right now. So I just gave it a shot.
Do you think that, obviously like it didn't happen overnight, like there's many years unfolded through there, but do you think that like if the sponsorships hadn't quite fallen your way, do you think you would have gone back and had a quote unquote like regular career? Um, do you think you still would have managed to reach your potential? Like if you took strategic time off work or, maybe less international expeditions, like do you still think you could have done the solos that you've done?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And actually, I think for me in particular, like me specifically, I think I probably couldn't have done those things.
Hmm.
But I think that's partially because for me with the free soloing, it's required so much volume, like so much time on rock. I do think for a lot of other climbers, they actually can achieve their physical potential and like climb their hardest grades, even with a full-time job, depending on the job, as long as it's not like hard physical labor or something.
Hmm.
But I think that for the specific kind of adventure climbing that I'm doing, it just required so much time on rock and so much time outdoors and so much like hiking time and getting lost in the mountains. Like basically there's such an adventure component to it that I think it would be very hard to do that while finishing an education and having a full-time job. But in
Yeah,
general, I encourage people to finish an education and get a real job because for the most part, you can climb at your best while pursuing other things in life. But
yeah,
there are some types of climbing, like if you want to be a successful Himalayan mountaineer, then it's like, yeah, you're probably not going to be working like a normal job.
totally. But you feel like from like on the performance side, like on that extreme end, there's maybe a path through that.
Yeah, I think on the performance side, there is a path because I think if you're training your absolute hardest as a climber, you're still only going to be able to train 30 plus hours a week or so. And that definitely leaves enough time to finish an education, like work some kind of a job, maybe not like a rigorous full-time demanding job, but you can definitely work and still train at a very high level.
Yeah.
So
Today our guest is Michaela Kiersch, and amongst the competition and hard climbing circles, Michaela is a climber's climber. For the Midwest contingent, she's like a hometown hero who understands what it's like to put a 12-hour drive each way for a long weekend at the Red River Gorge.
she's also a freaking doctor of occupational therapy, which is, I mean, she might be one of the first people we've interviewed who's a doctor. Is that true? Have we interviewed other doctors?
I think we've
I mean,
interviewed other PhDs, maybe.
Yeah, maybe we have, but either way, not many. So right there,
Yeah.
uh, she has a job. I mean, albeit a flexible job with I think minimal hours working, but it's like, but she is working as a doctor of occupational therapy, and she's just a total boss. I mean, I think that she's very well respected in the climbing community for having managed to balance all aspects of her life at such a high level.
Yeah. She's a fan favorite on the Reddit boards too, because everyone's like, I relate. You have a job and you crush.
Yeah, totally.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and last year she became, I mean, she's already an incredibly well-known climber, but she sort of cemented her place in climbing history in a way when she became the first woman to climb both 515 and V15 in a single year. I mean, she's the first woman to climb both those grades, and then she happened to do it in a single year as well, which is just it's just so impressive. Yeah. Though interestingly, I mean, talking to her about it, it's just funny that from her perspective, it's just another step on a long path. She's just on a journey. She's been steadily improving for decades, and it's like she's reached a very high level.